Hi everyone, this is Aaditya Jain, Vice President with the Technology Services team at Everest Group. I lead our banking, financial services, and insurance research programs. I'm really excited to be there in the US next month. We'll be joined by Ronak Doshi, partner technology services team, and together Ronak and I are doing a roadshow. We are going to be there in a bunch of cities. We're going to start around mid-May, 14th to 16th May, we'll be there in Charlotte. Subsequent week, it will be Dallas for us. We'll be attending Duck Creek Formations event there, and towards the end of the week, we'll head to Atlanta. The next week, after the Memorial Day weekend, we'll spend some time in New York, meet a bunch of our clients, and then we'll end it in Chicago in the end by the end of that week. So really looking forward to meeting a lot of our clients, delivering some of these workshops. And Ronak, while I have you, why don't you give a sneak peek in terms of some of the key themes that we are seeing and we plan to cover, in as part of the conversations in May.
Sure. Again, happy to. Let me also kind of bring up my screen. Let me know once you can see my screen so that
Yeah.
okay, perfect. So I would say there are again, you and I were discussing this, right? Like based on all the inquiries and all the activity that we have seen in the market over the last 6 months, right? We wanted to kind of crystallize those into some secular themes. And I think these were the three themes that we believe kind of, most accurately represented what we are seeing, right? So the first one definitely is this operating model shift that we are seeing in the organizations, which is how do I drive business and IT alignment and drive towards results, right? So objectives and key results, right? So the OKR philosophy, I think that's something which we are seeing. You can call it by different names. You can call it as a platform operating model or a product IT operating model or a value stream operating model. But the intent is how do we design the organization across IT operations and product to be able to drive towards those experiences that you are delivering, towards the products that you are delivering, towards the value chain that you are managing. So I think that has been the key theme, and this has been a strong shift. The second piece is around cost takeout and productivity. And this has been another secular theme, not just for the last 6 months, for the last 18 months or so. So I think it's become very critical is how do I get more from less? And it's not just the typical Gen AI led conversation on productivity, but also broader variables that you could use to kind of drive that productivity conversation. And then the third one, right, which is uh, insurance and banking firms and capital market firms have done significant investments into digital data, cloud, AI platforms over the last few years, but haven't realized that value out of it. So, what can they do to extract value is another theme that we are seeing quite a bit in our conversation. So, if you double click on these, right, if I look at the major enterprise actions, one thing that is becoming very clear is everybody's recasting their target state vision, and it's a moving target state vision because if I had to set this target state vision 18 months back, I didn't have generative AI as part of it. Now I do, and I want to move in smaller chunks versus trying to drive these large transformation which are 5 year, 7 year, 10 year timelines, versus I want to do things which are rapid iterative, getting to this moving target state. So how do I create that operating model? How do I drive the organization structure? How do I get my systems, data, IT process in place, and then have the right change management in place to be able to make this transition is the piece that we are looking at out here. And that for me is amazing opportunity in terms of not just for the technology vendors, the hyperscalers, the low code vendors and the core technology providers, but also a lot of the system integrators and consulting firms who are seeing a role to play in helping clients with talent augmentation, process augmentation, system augmentation as they're making this transition. Similarly, on the cost takeout piece, there is this need to do more offshoring, do more rationalization. We saw one of the largest custodians moving, from 150 vendors to around 40 odd vendors. So we've already seen that rationalization happening. But at the same time, there is this intent to do more offshoring through captives or global in-house centers or global capability centers. And then how do you kind of build those capabilities? How do you drive the next gen managed services model as you're working with suppliers? I think those are questions we are getting quite a bit. and how do you align your pricing and commercial structures to align to those outcomes or outputs that you're trying to do across applications? Infrastructure is becoming the conversation. And last but not the least, extracting value. I think this is the most common conversation we are having. And this is where it's not just about getting more value, but also stopping any value leakages that could happen in your existing systems. So, value leakages could be because of security, risk, and compliance. And you want to avoid those massive fines given out there, right? So, we are seeing a lot of activity around that, from ISO 20022 to 1071 CFPB rule to Basel Endgame, to different AI regulations that are coming up, like EU AI Act and other pieces. So that's where most of the activity is. And Aditya, I wanted to know from you, right, based on your thought process, right, and given we're going to attend Duck Creek from an insurance perspective, what are the major themes that you are excited to talk about?
Yeah, so I think the event is going to be interesting, right? Specifically from a Duck Creek perspective, and in general over the broader insurance product technology stack. I think the overall market dynamics definitely seems to be evolving a lot, right? So in the last, I would say, roughly 18 months or so, not as much or the same heightened activity that we have seen in the PNC insurance industry for greenfield implementations, large scale implementations, or net new implementations. I would say it was a lot more around core augmentation. It was a lot more around the migration to cloud, moving to the latest version, and adding features, functionalities to kind of drive more value out of the investments that they have already. Again, tying back to your point around value realization, it's more around how do I make it work and how do I make more out of the investments that I have already made. So I think that has been a dominant theme in the last 12 to 18 months. And yes, from a non-US, non-North America perspective, that's wherein the activity has gone higher. We see, system integration providers to be following the vision of the product technology provider. So that's definitely refreshing. And I'm really excited about getting the results out of our Duck Creek Services Peak Matrix Assessment. They'll be published before the event. So already seeing a lot of anxiety in the market. So I'm geared up for that. The second piece, I think I'm just trying to build on top of what you said, which was around the value realization piece. I would say there's a fourth pillar that I see to be emerging, which is how do we move just from a value realization piece to a value acceleration piece.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad. I was hoping that it happened sooner, not so much in the last year, but at least in Q1 this year, seeing a lot of those conversations wherein people are interested in talking about business model innovation, newer risk, newer demographics, newer client segments that they could go after. So those green shoots is what keeps what makes it even more interesting, and really excited and getting towards sharing that with our clients.
Yeah, no, again, looking forward to having you with us on the roadshow, meeting a bunch of our clients and having some fun along the way. Thank you, Aditya.
Absolutely looking forward to it.